Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the ANZCAR Thursday Night Thunder Series, coming to you live from Bristol Motor Speedway for round 10 of the Bristol 100. And I'd like to introduce you your commentary team tonight, myself Bernie Weemers, and I'm joined in the booth by Ryan Shelton. Welcome back, Ryan.
Welcome, glad to be here.
Yeah, so we can see the field out there at the moment, folks. They're just doing their practice run. Lot to cover off before we get onto the Xfinities, though, and we'll be covering that very shortly. But, of course, this week the Truck Series came here on Monday night to the Bristol, and we'll find out how they went. We're going to cut it right across now to the highlights of that round. Hope you enjoy it. And Edward Foster is calling the action.
Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's round of the Monday Night Truck Series, brought to us by 131 Web Radio. Coming to you tonight from Bristol, the last great Coliseum as they call it, and Ashley Lear taking a very well-deserved pole position and running away there from Jackson Callow. Todd Maxfield actually looks as though he started from the pit lane, and with a short track like this managed to go a lap down very, very early on. You can see him just being avoided more than a point by the leaders there, just being rounded up on the outside by the number 17 of Shane Witt, as well as the number 40 of Mitchell McLeod, who's right there on the hammer of Jackson Callow now. Right there on him, as you can see, and goes for the lunge underneath. Jackson just lets him go and takes that nice late apex, getting back down underneath him. Unfortunately, wasn't able to pull it up and hold that bottom line to hold McLeod at bay, and McLeod ended up completing that move. See Hayden Dodman and Todd Maxfield running fairly closely, as were Shane Witt and Terry Humphries. Matt Danson, our championship leader, just getting involved with him there. Already sporting a little bit of damage on the front, not quite sure how that came about, but he's just working his way up through those other drivers at the moment. Steve Hoppert just giving the little wall a nudge there, and Nicholas Walsh and James Robbie trying their best to take advantage of that little mistake, and they both managed to do so, just clearing him there. Purcell and Callow continued to battle on. And you also had Carolyn Upton there in the number 42, who you just saw, as James Robbie and Humphries continued to battle with one of the talking trucks there right behind him. Looks as though Purcell gets into the back of Callow, which is Dodman's gone into the back of him, and Maxfield's gone into the back of him, turning just about all of those guys around. I think Maxfield may have been the only one to escape unscathed, but Hayden Dodman's teammate Ashley Lear led away from the next restart. Shane Witt was having a good run. He was up there for most of the night as Matt Danson makes his way through past Nicholas Walsh and just pulling up onto the back of Steve Hoppert there as well. We're used to seeing Matt running up the front with the leaders, but he certainly wasn't early on, starting from a reasonably low grid position. See Maxfield and Walsh just probably running each other out of room and getting up, probably just testing the integrity of that outside fence a little bit. Of course, brought out the caution and the two Torque teammates up the front. We've got Ashley Lear and Mitchell McLeod leading the way. Danson just continuing to pick his way through. James Robbie and Hayden Dodman, a couple of the other fast guys looking to make a little bit of progress through the field as well. Pit stops coming into play by this stage of the race. See a couple of trucks carrying a bit of damage now, James Robbie amongst them. He ended up running up very close towards the front of the field for most of the night, so damage of course not being such an issue with the relatively low speeds, aero damage, that kind of thing. Probably not affecting these guys as much as it would at a place like Daytona or Talladega, for example. You can see the amount of damage just there, just as you can see the front of the bonnet sticking up on Nicholas Walsh's car, and wasn't doing him too much harm either. Dodman there just diving for the pits as Hoppert and Walsh continue their little stoush, going around the outside of him, staying on the track, do another couple of laps. Matt Danson running up into the wall there also. pretty rare to see a bang on the wall from him, so it actually shows how difficult it is to keep these trucks within the confines of such a tight circuit such as this. Tight circuit plus such a high speed brought about by the relatively high banking that you see here, just as Danson makes a move on Purnell. See Purnell there just holding the outside. How unlucky was Nicholas Walsh there. He's just managed to get caught as Purnell's recovered himself after banging the wall. That's brought out another caution, and Danson, you can see, has resumed his traditional place up front, but he's got a mirror full of Ashley Lear at the moment, and they will continue that battle for the remainder of the race. Callow continuing to run well. Steve Hoppert just getting into that outside wall. Purnell doing a fairly good job to avoid him. Matt Danson just continuing to lead away. Now he has got mirrors full of torque with both Mitch McLeod and Ashley Lear in up behind him. Just see Hoppert getting a little bit loose there, trying to hold that bottom line, and wasn't able to hold it up down low enough as Purnell gets taken out there. He's actually managed to spin himself as well there, Steve. So that's brought out another caution on the restart. It's been the same scenario again with Matt Danson trying his best to outrun the two talking trucks running in behind him. Always trying to hold that high line. Very difficult. Yeah, high line is the fastest line here, but trying to hold that around the outside without rubbing the wall is a skill in itself. Both these guys, James Robbie and Terry Humphreys, doing a good job. They ran towards the front of the field for most of the night, as did Jackson Callow. There's Hopper just getting into the outside wall, bouncing back out of the track, and single-handedly taking out the entire torque contention for this race. Hayden Dodman being taken out a little bit earlier on in a different incident. That allowed James Robbie, Michelle Callow and Terry Humphreys to make a charge towards the front as those two talking trucks were eliminated as a result of that. Matt Danson, though, as ever, manages to come through the carnage and cross the line in first place. Second place going to Jackson Callow, and James Robbie will be very happy to round out the podium in third place. So action-packed round. There weren't actually too many trucks left running on the lead lap, as there was quite a lot of green flag running. There was only the top four left. So we'll see if there's a similar scenario next week, round 11 at Richmond. So join us then.
Fantastic, and that was Edward Foster bringing us all the action there of last Monday night's round of the Monday night Camping Truck Series, and of course next week they go to Richmond. But let's have a look at the point score and see where the drivers ended up after that night. So as we could see, Matt Danson once again, he's continuing to lead, 451 points. Nicholas Walsh, he still remains in second on 333 points. In third at the moment is Todd Maxfield on 321 points. Then we've got James Robbie, he finished third in the Monday night race. He's in fourth position on 315 points. Steve Hoppert, well, he didn't have the best of runs on Monday night, but he's still sitting there in fifth position on 278 points. In sixth at the moment is Nicholas Shields, and then we have Michelle Callow. She's moved up from 8th to 7th, and Mirko Dortnack has moved down to 8th. That's really the only big move in here. This week. Tim Dawes, he's sitting in 9th, and rounding out your top 10 of the ANZCAR Truck Series is Dwayne Priest. So I tell you what, Ryan, it was one action-packed race, quite a bit of carnage going on, and it looked like they had a few safety cars to throw in as well.
Yeah, that's the nature of beast. This Bristol track, it normally throws up the biggest caution numbers. I think, if memory serves correct, this track actually holds the most cautions for a single race at like 16 or 17. That's in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series. It had like 16 or 17 cautions. It wasn't too long ago. It was probably about 10 or 12 years ago they had that. But it's not uncommon to see double-digit caution numbers in a full-length race.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what they turn tonight as far as cautions go. There's 13 cars in the server at the moment, folks. A bit low on numbers. Hopefully it'll pick up soon. They've got another 5 or so minutes until they will be going out to qualify, as we see Thomas Hinds there getting it all sorts of wrong and up into the fence. At the moment though, folks, the fastest person in practice, we'll bring that up for you now, is Dwayne Priest. 14.812 seconds he set for the fastest lap. Jason Martin is second fastest. Dave Douglas third fastest. Stephen Williams fourth. Rounding out your top 5 is Daniel Stevens. And by the looks of those times, Ryan, it's going to be a mighty close race.
Yeah, Bristol normally throws up a really close race, and that's what causes a lot of the carnage. The fact that, you have nowhere to go. You have nowhere to go on this track. It's pretty narrow, it's very fast, and it's really tiny. When you have a full 40-car field, if you're in last place, you're already half a lap behind. So you really don't have a whole lot of places to escape. Even if you're in the back, you don't really have a whole lot of time before the leaders start to catch up to you. So it's really interesting. It puts up some really good racing. I think with this smaller field, we might get some longer green flag runs. And when that starts to happen, you'll start to see some of the guys maybe move down the track some, as we heard Edward Foster earlier talk about that high line being the fastest on the in the truck series. It's the same thing here in the Xfinity series. The closer you can get to that wall, the faster you're going to go. That's on new tires. As the tires get old, you might want to start moving down the track, especially on exit, just to kind of straighten up your corner.
Yeah, so how many laps do you reckon they're going to get until those tyres start to hurt around here?
Oh, the first one. It's just like that. I mean, the car is so hard to drive at this track. I do think within about 5 to 10 laps, you'll start to see these drivers start to change the way they drive. But also, I think after about 15 to 20 laps is when you're really going to start seeing these lap times start to drop instantly. And with this track and the way it's built, you might get away with just doing 2 tires with how important track position is. So we might see somebody late in the race, if there's a late race caution, they might just throw on 2 tires and hope to keep it up there, and it may work out for them. So be on the lookout for that too.
Yeah, definitely. We can just see there the 98 just finding the fence there. But before we get into the rest of the details here tonight and qualifying, folks, let's have a look at the Xfinity points as they come into this round. So at the moment, Jason Martin leads the series on 386 points. Josh Micklemore sitting in second on 349 points. And Josh is not out there tonight, but Jason is. Thomas Hinds sitting in third, 327 points. He's also out there tonight, and we'll be looking to bank some valuable points for sure. Dave Douglas sitting in fourth on 314 points. Danny G, he moves up to fifth on 304 points. And Matthew Clote, he moves down to sixth on 303 points. In fact, he's equal on 303 points with Stephen Williams. Down there in 8th position at the moment is Riley Curtis on 286 points. 9th, Craig Lawless on 272 points, and rounding out our top 10 is Norman Clark on 268 points. And having a look at our entries there at the moment, folks, as I said, Josh Micklemore is not on track tonight, and just going through very quickly the rest of the field. Looks like we don't have Riley Curtis as well. Craig Lawless is out there, and Norman Clark is as well. So a couple of guys have not shown up tonight, so they may slide in the point standing here tonight, Ryan.
Yeah, unfortunate for some of these guys. They're going to be moving back a little bit if they don't show up, but also it might be fortunate for some of the guys up in the back who want to move up in this points chase, as we just now had Josh Micklemore join in to the fun, so he's not going to drop back too far, hopefully.
Yeah, well, he'll get some practice time in before we go to quali, so he turned up just in the nick of time. One person we are missing is Riley Curtis. Hopefully he will join us tonight. We also should give a shout out to Phil Otto. He won't be joining us tonight. He's going to pick up his grandson from the airport. So hope that goes well, Phil. It's been a while since you've seen him, so enjoy that family time. We should also give a shout out to Steve Hoppett. He, the voice of ANZCAR, and he was going to be here tonight, as we can hear someone tapping. He was going to be here tonight, but unfortunately he's laid up in bed as well, and he can't join us. And of course Sam Deventia, he's also a bit crook tonight, so he can't race, and is hoping to be ready for the Cup race this Saturday when those boys come back to Bristol. That'll be on air on RRTV live from 2:10 p.m. Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and with that, I might join in on the racing action. If this field is a little bit smaller, I might join into the racing. If not, I might join you up here in the booth.
Yeah, no worries. It'll be a great day, that's for sure. And of course, it's a full-length race. As far as tonight goes, folks, coming into this, we are running 185 laps. Sounds like a lot. It is, but they're lapping at around about 15 seconds a lap. As far as time certain goes, it's 1 hour and 50 minutes. So they'll either complete the full distance or they'll complete the total time distance. They've got absolutely no fast repairs tonight. There is no incident limit. But I tell you what, Ryan, if you get caught into an incident here and smack that wall, it doesn't matter how many incident points you chew up, because that car's going to be toast.
Yeah, these cars are built a little bit tougher than most cars, so you do have a little bit of leeway when it comes to hitting that wall. But you don't want to do it too many times. With 185 laps, you don't get 185 times to hit the wall. So if you hit it one good time and it puts you into the inside wall, if you hit it once, you hit somebody else, then that's where the issues are going to start to come around.
Yep, so we'll see how the boys go. They're coming out now to start their qualifying. They've got 3 laps. Daniel Stevens, he's the first out on the track in the number 66. We'll see what sort of time he can lay out. We've also got Dwayne Priest out there, and Craig Lawless is also on track at the moment. So let's bring up the qualifying standings, and we can see now as Daniel Stevens completes the first lap. It is 15 seconds 3:11. Jumping back to Dwayne Priest there. He's just starting his flying lap now in the 777. And see what Craig Lawless is doing. He's also out there. His lap time of 15:693. So at the moment, Daniel Stevens is throwing down the gauntlet for the rest of the boys here.
Yeah, Daniel Stevens is running that lower line, which is not something we see. Daniel Priest is out there currently, and he did have our fastest practice lap time. He's looking to get back to the front, but taking a look on my screen, it actually looks like he has tapped the wall on both laps, so he will get 0x, and when you get a 0x, it actually cancels out your lap time. So Dwayne Priest, that'll be one to watch. He'll be starting towards the back of the field.
Yeah, and we saw Danny G there in his second lap also collect the wall, so he has not set a time. He'll have to start that lap again as he comes across now. Does it count? It does. 15.706. So your top 4 at the moment, folks, is Daniel Stevens, Matt Clowett, Craig Lawless, Danny G, and we're just having a look at Dave Douglas in the number 10. He's out there at the moment, Ryan. From what I can see, though, mate, it looks like caution around here in qualifying is probably going to pay dividends.
Yeah, I was watching Edward Foster, and he ran about in the middle of the track, so he wanted to get the most out of the track, but he also didn't want to hit the wall, and that's given him a 15.0 as he just rounded out his qualifying run. Dave Douglas just came across the line before he hit the wall also, and he had a 15.3 for his first lap. So it does look like these guys are taking it a little bit easier than most, but we'll see how some of the other guys start to do it, as Josh Micklemore has also gone out on track. So this will be his first lap as we jump on board with him.
Yeah, definitely. You can see him on screen at the moment. Moves straight up to P2 here with a 15.124 in his first lap through. He's on to his second now. See if he can improve. That's going up to the high line. Plenty of move, or plenty of gap, I should say, to the fence. Comes through 15.255. He does not improve, but that's good enough to be on the front row.
Yeah, it looks like the tracks may have slowed down, or some of these guys are just not throwing it all out to the wind and hoping for the best. Because some of these guys, like some of our top guys who were running earlier, Stephen Williams and Jason Martin, still have yet to make a lap. Norman Clark also. We saw Dwayne Priest. He went out there but was unable to make a good lap. Thomas Haynes is out there currently. Practice lap was 15.084, so we'll see if he can't get back with that lap.
I'll tell you what, the person that has jumped to the top here, though, it was Edward Foster with a 15.087. Thomas Hinds just outed him on a 14.921 on his first lap through here, Ryan. We'll see if he can improve, but at the moment, Thomas Hinds into the wall. That's the end of that, but he's on provisional pole. Still having a look, waiting for Jason Martin. He has not come out yet to set a lap, neither has Darren McKenzie or Steve Williams, from what I can tell.
Yeah, Norman Clark has actually just pulled out onto the track for his 2 laps, so he just now pulled out. He will tap the wall coming onto the straightaway, so that's going to slow him down for this first lap, but we'll see if he can keep it off the wall for the second.
We'll see what the magician can do here as he's going through, flying lap across the start-finish line. Now good enough for 8th position with a 15.515. So Norman Clark will be starting from the 4th row of the grid here tonight. Having a look now, we've also got Darren McKenzie out on track, and we'll see what he sets. He's just set a 6th fastest time with a 15.266. And he's on his second flying lap as well. Jason Martin is also out there, and we'll get his time now as Darren McKenzie cannot improve. Well, Jason isn't out yet. He's spinning the tyres up for some reason.
Yeah, so one of the things about this short track racing, I don't think we'll see Jason Martin dominate like we normally do. Just like at the road course we had a couple of weeks ago, he kind of struggled a little bit. Short tracks are a completely different animal than what you see at like the super speedways or the smaller tracks, mile and a half or whatever. Those he's probably really good at. These short tracks, he might struggle at this track, so it might be a little interesting thing to watch Jason Martin, see if he can get it, and he proves me wrong and runs a 14.8. So. There's that.
Yeah, so Jason Martin straight up to provisional pole. Thomas Innes, 2nd fastest, so that's your front row. Then we've got Edward Foster in the 2nd row out of 3rd. Josh Micklemore, 4th. 3rd row, it looks like we've got Daniel Stevens and Matthew Clowett. Then going back to the 4th row, Darren McKenzie in 7th, Dave Douglas 8th. Roger Clark will start 9th in the 5th row, and his father will start on the outside of him. That's Norman Clark in 10th. Just having a look, it's only Jason and Josh running at the moment. Dwayne Priest, of course, did not set a time. He tried, but he did set a time, 15.618. Steve Williams, we haven't seen Steve out there yet.
Yeah, Dwayne Priest set a time, but both of his laps were in the wall, so he got that 0x. So he will not be able to set a time. He's already ran his 2 laps, and Stephen Williams probably just wants to start in the back just to kind of give himself a chance just to get around this track safely. But with the 15-second lap times, you don't have to go out there until there's a minute left, so he could be waiting.
Yeah, and before we get into the race, folks, we should give a shout out to the camera pack tonight has been provided courtesy of Track Cams for Gourmets. If you want to buy this camera pack yourself, you can go over to trackcams22.com and you can buy this pack as well as many other oval and road racing tracks. So, Ryan, what do you reckon we're going to see here tonight?
I think hopefully what I imagine how I would drive it. I would take it slow for the first about 100 laps, and then the last 80, I would pass every single car that passed me. So that's the way I would drive. Granted, it would cause I would probably wreck on lap 102, but I think that's what I would imagine you'd see, especially with the field they're kind of condensed, but with the smaller field, I'd really hope that they would think about, just trying to make it to the end as your first priority, because to finish first, you must finish.
Yeah, that's it. And we can see Josh Micklemore there.
So.
Yeah, so how many cautions you reckon? Into the tens? Into the teens?
I hope not. I really hope not, because it's already 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I would imagine we would probably see about 7. I think about 7. And don't really want to see a whole lot of cars get taken out of the race either. Bristol's a fun track to race at, because it is extremely hard to pass at this track. So I think it really makes the racing more fun.
Yeah, well, we can't afford to lose any drivers here tonight. We've got 14 in the field, and we want to see all those guys that get to the end, that's for sure. So we'll see how it shapes up. We can see qualifying's coming to an end shortly, folks. We'll take you through the full grid very, very soon. But it looks like Steve Williams is not going to get out to set a time. So if he's going to join this race, it'll be from 14th position. You can see now qualifying has completed here, folks. And the guys will be gridding up very shortly. As far as the race information tonight goes, well, it's partly cloudy out there, 23 degrees Celsius or 74 degrees Fahrenheit. So a nice balmy night here at Bristol, that's for sure. But let's take you through the grid, folks, and you can see where your favourite driver will be starting this evening. So bringing up the grid on the front row, Jason Martin, he sets the fastest time with a 14.867. He'll start on the inside, but keep an eye on Thomas Hines starting on the outside of him. Looking back to row 2, we have Edward Foster starting on the inside out of third. He's joined on the grid by Josh Micklemore on the outside of him in fourth. Moving back to the third row, we have Daniel Stevens starting in fifth down low, and he's got Matt Clowett up there starting in sixth on the outside of him. Moving back to the fourth row, we have Darren McKenzie starting in seventh. He's joined on the grid by Dave Douglas in the number 10 on the outside of him. Then moving to the sixth row, we have father and son Roger Clark in ninth in the low line, his dad on the outside of him, Norman Clark in 10th. Then starting out of the sixth row, we have Craig Lawless out of 11th. Danny G will start out of 12th. Moving back to the 7th row, we have Steve Williams out of 13th down low. Dwayne Priest, he will be starting in 14th. And I can say it looks like all the drivers are out there tonight, Ryan.
Yeah, so they're all out there. So, it just looks like Steve Williams just kind of wanted to be in the back and be by himself. So, it's going to be fun. Short track racing is always a little different for everybody, so we'll see if these guys take it slow or if they try to come straight out of the box, just running into each other left and right.
You can see the pace car now warming them up around here. Dan Stevens said it's 11:10 p.m. where he is at the moment in the number 66. Well, it's 9:10 p.m. over here in Canberra, Australia, and of course over at your side of the woods, Ryan, it is about 7:10 a.m. your time, so nice and early. Hope you've got a big breakfast, because we're going to get busy here very shortly.
Yeah, actually I had some pizza before we started, because I knew we were probably going to be sitting here for a while, so I didn't want to get hungry.
No, I made sure I had a big spaghetti tonight, and it'll probably come back and haunt me a bit later. But you can see now, as the pace car leads them around here at Bristol, you can see Jason Martin. He will have control of the field starting down low. Keep an eye on Hins on the outside, though, in the 52. See what he has to throw at the 21.
Yep. And the pace car will drop here in just 1 tick of a second. There it goes. Now Jason Martin has control over this field, and he darts. And he will be the first to turn one, the first to venture out onto this Bristol Motor Speedway, the last great Coliseum, they call it.
Yeah, and you can see him as they're coming around here. Clean start at the moment as they complete lap 1, folks. Jason Martin is starting to get a bit of a gap over Hins in second. Micklemore going the high line there and settling in to third. Further back, though, we've got Edward Foster. He's in fourth, and Daniel Stevens going on the inside. 2 wide here with the 53 and the 66.
Yeah, and Josh Micklemore is really trying to make some work out on this 52 Thomas Hines. He's trying to find a different way around him. He's going the high line, which is what I thought would be the preferred line, but it's actually looking to be more the bottom line, which is a new thing that maybe this latest update has done to these cars. Is normally you want to run that high line to get the fastest way around this track, but it looks like the bottom line is actually pretty useful. You know, as you can see, Thomas Hines is starting to run away from Josh Micklemore, but then come down the straightaways, and he gets it right back.
And we saw further back there Roger Clark, Matthew Clowett. They're battling here. Matthew Clowett taking the high line, and he was coming under quite a bit of pressure from Roger Clark running that low line. But now the number 24, Danny G, on the inside of Clark. And you're right there, Ryan. That low line seems to be working a treat, as we can see Danny G moving almost up to 9th position as he makes that move now.
Yeah, it's a big old little cluster back there in the back with a couple of MFR guys. Danny G is definitely leading that little pack for 9th place, and behind him they're just all kind of bunched up.
We're on the nose cam here with Josh Micklemore as he's trying to run the outside of Hins there. He's using that high line. Hins is on the inside of him as he starts to drop back slightly now. We'll go to the external camera. You can see Micklemore taking the high line around Hins. So it looks like that high line's working at the moment, or coming into starting to work anyway.
Yeah, so what it looks like is this with the tires actually grip pretty well. When they're new, you can hold that bottom line, but as they wear off, it looks like that top line is what comes in. So maybe I was a little backwards in my thinking process. I have not driven this car at this track in a very long time. Last time I did drive it was in the old build, so it was a lot of fun then, and it looks to be a lot of fun now. These guys have started to spread out just a little bit, but we do have a long way to go. Granted, we have completed already 11 laps, so these are going really quick.
They certainly are, and I tell you what, looking at the way these guys are working here at the moment, folks, we'll jump in with Micklemore. One thing I reckon is Bristol's going to do here, Ryan, is it's going to give the driver's brain a workout as well as the arms a workout around here, because they don't have any time to relax whatsoever.
Yeah, you really don't have time to relax at all. Even, you spend 3 seconds on the straightaway, and then you spend 3 seconds on the next turn, and then you spend another 3 seconds. So you're constantly, either getting off the corner, getting the car straight, and then as soon as you get that car straight, you're already setting up for that next corner. So you just do not have time to even think about anything or get relaxed. One of the biggest problems that they used to have on the track is that drivers didn't know where they were going. They'd lose track of which side of the track they were on. So what they did is they added those little banners, those ad banners to 1 and 2, just to kind of give them something to, figure out where they're at on track. As we see Thomas Hines and Edward Foster, they're locked in the battle here for 3rd place.
They certainly are. We're just doing a couple of laps there with Josh Micklemore. As we see now Foster dive into the inside there. Is he going to be able to make this move on Hins? I tell you what, Hins brushes the wall, gets away with it, holds on, lap 17. One thing though, Ryan, I did notice was jumping in with Josh there, down the straight, 227 kilometres an hour they're doing, and through the corners 186 kilometres an hour. They're lapping at the moment in the high 15 seconds. It's just absolutely crazy as we see that is Roger Clark into the wall, going high, getting out of the way and dropping a lap.
Yeah, like I was saying before, this track you have no time to even think about where to go. So as you're a lap car, it's going to be really hard. Daniel Stevens is actually locked in the battle for the 6th place. Floyd, Dave Douglas, and Danny G have all joined into the battle also. And these guys are racing super hard right now.
They certainly are, and Daniel Stevens at the moment in the 66 gets past the 54 Chloe, but Dave Douglas now on the inside of the 54, and as you said, they're racing hard. Also to join the party here is we've got Dave Douglas and Danny G.
Matthew Chloe just ended up in the wall after he tried to make a pass on the outside of Danny Stevens, but that did not work. Daniel Stevens actually moved back up the track, and there was almost no room, and Chloe just was unable to get his composure back before the next corner, as Dave Douglas is just right on the tail there. It looks like they have just about touched.
And 23 down at the moment. A nice clean run touch wood as now Dave Douglas goes on the inside of the 66. You can see him working away here into the fence.
Okay. That's going to take out both cars.
All right, that I will wear. Commentator's curse.
Yeah, that's going to take out both cars there. They're both going to be pretty messed up for the rest of the race. They might be able to survive with it being a road course. As long as their steering isn't totally messed up, they should still be able to, run around and make pace, because aerodynamics really don't mean that much here, so they might be able to get away with it. But both cars are totally destroyed. And Darren McKenzie's car looks to be really messed up too.
Yeah, we'll go and have a look at what happened to Darren here. The other car that got caught up in that was Josh Mickelmore. I'm just seeing if he actually had contact or if he pulled it up, just as the guys were bringing it back up the track. You can see Dave Douglas trying to bring it up there, and he just runs into the front of the number 2 of Mickelmore as he tries to turn that car around. Having a look at what happened to Darren McKenzie, I can't really see. He doesn't have any damage at the moment on that car, as far as the replay goes.
My end, it had the whole front end was destroyed, so must have been just a netcode thing. Because my end, his whole entire car was just absolutely destroyed.
Okay.
So here's something interesting. Dave Douglas is actually staying out in hopes that he can keep his lap. Because if he does not pit, he'll be able to run back around and get his lap back. And Daniel Stevens is going to pit and hopefully try to fix this damage. Dave Douglas is going to try to hope for a quick caution so that he can come back in and pit later on. So it's a risky move by Dave Douglas because his last lap before wrecking, it was a 16-1, and then you got the guys behind it. Guys in front, they're going to be back to the low 15. If he can keep running a 16, it's still going to be a bit rough for him.
Yeah, well, all of them came in apart from Dave Douglas in the number 10. He is trying to get that lap back. He will get it. He'll get the wave by shortly. But that car, tell you what, look at the rear end of that thing. It's so bent up. I guess around a track like this, downforce probably isn't too big of an issue, considering it's such a short track with high banking.
Yeah, the high banking helps out, but like you were quoting earlier, it's 230 down the stretch to 180 in the corner, so you're still going quite fast. It's just you're not going as fast, so the downforce doesn't really play as much of a factor. So we'll see if he can maybe keep his lap, maybe try to hold on to the car just long enough until another caution shows up.
Yeah, and so different strategies here. The number 10's trying to get their lap back via the wave by. Daniel Stevens in the 66 that was involved in that, he decided to bring that car into the pits. He's sitting down there in 14th, and Dave Douglas will come around now to join the back of the queue. So Danny Stevens, the first of the guys to drop a lap. Roger Clark got his lap back after all that carnage, but all in all, 29 laps to the first caution, so 26. Not a bad start to the race.
No, it took 25 laps for that to happen, so that's a good sign. Maybe we can get 50 this next time. And one interesting note before we go green, just right before we go green, Josh Mickelmore was actually catching Jason Martin. Green flag as Jason Martin gets going. But Darren McKenzie trying to get 3 wide in the first corner there as I was trying to get something out, but the action has already started. Darren McKenzie has passed Thomas Heems for that 4th position. He's started 5th. And you can see they're all trying to just hold that bottom while the tires hold together.
Yeah, that's right. We can see the 444 there going on the inside of Daniel Stevens in the 66. He's got the 09 Roger Clark behind him. Daniel Stevens down a lap, but racing continues. As we can see up front, we have Jason Martin, Josh Mickelmore starting to get a bit of a gap now, 9/10 of a second over Edward Foster in the 53. And I'll tell you what, Edward is on fire tonight, and hopefully if things go his way, we will see him up on the podium this evening.
Yeah, Daniel Stevens is actually keeping pretty good pace with that damaged car. He's running in mid-15s, but he has passed 4 cars already. Dave Douglas still holding behind. We'll see where he runs. Yeah, he's still running in mid-15. The leaders are running in the low 15, so he might be able to keep just 1 lap down. Dave Douglas might be a different story, so we'll keep on that later on. But I was trying to get out before Darren McKenzie decided to make all kinds of action happen. Josh Mickelmore actually caught back with Jason Martin at the end of that run. So we might see Josh Mickelmore try to make a run for this win here as he is right behind Jason Martin. We've seen this a lot throughout the year where somebody will stay behind Jason Martin right after a restart, but after about 10 laps start to fade back. So we'll see if that happens again.
Yeah, and it's Josh Mickelmore came in extremely late into the practice, didn't he? So I wasn't sure if he was going to have that car dialed in, but he's definitely got it dialed in. He's sitting on the back of Jason Martin here, just shadowing him. The lap times 15.333 to Jason Martin, 15.4 to Josh Mickelmore. But riding with the number 2 at the moment, he's more than happy just to sit on the back of Jason and pace this race out.
Yeah, he might try to make something of it here later on. If he gets a good run, maybe sees Jason slowing down, making a mistake or something, he might try to go after it. But I think right now he is pretty content staying behind him.
We're just going back to have a look at the moment. Daniel Stevens is lapped down on the inside of the 777 of Dwayne Priest there, just trying to make that work. It doesn't look like he's losing too much time with all that damage, although he is a lap down. He does have Craig Lawless in the 444 now going in behind him, but the 777 hits the wall, continues on, but you don't want to do that too many times around here.
No, not at all. It's hitting that wall is not the best thing for you. As we see Stephen Williams, the guy who started in dead last, he's actually trying to make a pass on Danny G here as he goes low, trying to do a slide job. See if it sticks. Danny G's gonna have that run off the corner, but he does tap the wall at entry. That's gonna kind of slow him down just a little bit. It is gonna give Stephen Williams a chance to stay on that inside and maybe throw it one good time and hope to get in front of Danny G on the outside.
Yeah, he's trying, isn't he? But he goes in there, he gets up beside him, but then Danny G just gets the power down. Matt Clout now deciding that is a strategy he likes, and he's following the 24. Meanwhile, the 98 working the low line, trying to get the move done. If anything, the 54 is going to get him here.
Yeah, so what Stephen Williams was trying to do, he's trying to make that bottom work, but it's just not going to work out. What he really needs to do is Matthew Cloak just stays just a little bit higher, and he try to gas it down and try to maybe get to the top of Danny G here. But what Stephen Williams needed to do was just throw it towards the wall, do a classic slide job like you see in the speedway stuff. So that's what he should have been doing, but I don't think he really wanted to do that this early in the race. As I see Matthew Pullet just having some small issues here and there. Get to the wall, just trying to drive really hard, really aggressive early here in the race. We are on lap 48. This race is going by very quick when you have 6-second lap times.
Yeah, it's going quickly, that's for sure. And the 444 now, that's Craig Lawless working that high line on the 777, makes the move, just squeezes by, and that's Dwayne Priest there that he made that move on. I'll tell you what, that was mighty close, folks. As this race continues, though, let's go through your top 10 as they stand. So Jason Martin leads this race by 0.2 of a second. He's got Josh Micklemore in the number 2, breathing down his neck. Edward Foster in 3rd at the moment, looking comfortable over Darren McKenzie in 4th. Darren's got a visitor, and that is Thomas Hinds in the 52. And Thomas looks racy, that's for sure. And down in 6th is Danny G. He's battling it out with Matthew Clowett. 8th is Stephen Williams. 9th, Craig Lawless. And rounding out your top 10 is Dwayne Priest.
So, Darren McKenzie and Thomas Hinds, that is starting to heat up a lot. Now that these guys are catching these flat traffic, it's getting really rough for some of these guys to try to make it fast. As Darren McKenzie, he goes all the way to the apron, and Thomas Hinds will try to go to the super bottom line and see if this will work. Darren McKenzie just has that outside line. Not sure why he's not running right next to the wall. That would really help him out. He'd be able to just get away from Thomas Hinds. But Thomas Hinds is just trying to make that inside work, and it's just not.
Yeah, he's willing it to work, isn't he? And we're riding with Thomas Hinds now. You can see now the 08 taking that high line. Hinds getting a run back on the low line. He likes that exit, but then as you can see, he just doesn't get the momentum, does he? Because he's running so low. Yeah,
this car is so tight around here that you can't really run the line that you want to run.
So there we missed McKenzie for a moment there. He just disappeared for a moment. I was looking in the background to see where the smoke was, but he's reappeared on the outside of the 52. So this battle is still continuing, folks. That is for 5th and 6th. And this is where, we were saying drivers don't get a break. Not only is it mentally fatiguing, physically fatiguing, but when they're driving side by side like this lap after lap, they just don't get the space either, do they?
No, I was saying earlier, you don't really have space around here to kind of do what you want to do. You can't run away, even if you're trying to work behind. As Thomas Hinds does make that happen, it looks like Darren McKenzie may have just used up his tires too much to make that stick. So now Thomas Hinds is just going to run away with this one right now. But you really don't have a chance to really relax and drive by yourself. And that does make tempers flare, as also Stephen Williams has just made a pass on Danny G, and he's looking to run away with that one too. So that's where the whole tempers come from, is these guys, running right next to each other for 50 some odd laps, now on lap 60 now. They get no break at all.
And we should also give a shout out to George Gibbs. He's just joined the chat channel. He's one thing George does is he always comes and says good morning, and he's from your part of the world, Ryan, and he likes to have his breakfast and watch the racing.
Well, can't go wrong with that, that's for sure. Especially with this race we got now. It's starting to heat up just a little bit. We're just at halfway to go here, just a few laps. We'll be halfway to go.
Yeah, it's great racing. We've only had one caution at the moment. The pace of this racing so far, folks, the last car on the lead lap is Danny G, and he's sitting in 8th. All the cars that have dropped a lap is the 444, Craig Lawless, Dwayne Priest in the 777 has gone down a lap. So has Norman Clark in the 11. You can see those two battling for position there at the moment. Dave Douglas down one lap. He was in trouble and brought out the first caution when he came together with the 66 of Daniel Stevens. Roger Clark also down one lap, and Daniel Stevens, he's down 2 laps, but he's still circulating. No retirement so far.
Stephen Williams tries to make the pass on the inside of Matthew Cloyd, and it looks like Cloyd just might have just let him go on that one. It looked a little too easy as Stephen Williams shot down the inside and just passed in the one corner. Didn't really have to set it up or anything, so good on him.
Yeah, and the other thing that's starting to play into this race now, folks, is traffic. We saw them starting to go and put another lap down on the 09, and it was interesting. Jason got through pretty cleanly. Micklemore did as well, but he got a bit checked up there on that high line. It took him a bit longer, and that gap is out to 0.4 of a second now.
Yeah, that's one thing, especially if you have like a big field. Oh, Josh Micklemore just got into that wall there. Now we are officially halfway through this race, and that's going to push him back to just a little over half a second behind Jason Martin. But that's one thing about this track is, you know, as soon as you get these anywhere decently long green flag runs, you have traffic everywhere, so you're always having to deal with it. It almost feels like a multi-class race. Get to a long green flag run.
Yeah, and then if that doesn't make it difficult enough for us to tell the viewers what's going on, they should be pitting under green, touch wood, and then it's going to get mighty interesting, because I'm assuming as they pit, the track's so short, they're probably going to drop a lap, just getting onto pit road and off it again.
Yeah, you drop normally 2 laps around here, because it takes the whole lap for you to do the pit stop itself. So you normally drop anywhere between 2 and 3 laps for just taking a pit stop. So most guys do want to pit under yellow, but we'll see if we get any green flag stops. We are about 50 laps away from when we last stopped, so I imagine these cars can probably do about 100 laps or so on fuel, 80 to 100.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Micklemore's probably going to come in soon, because he's dropping like a brick at the moment. I heard a bang in the corner there. I'm not sure who that was. We'll soon find out if the yellow comes out. But Micklemore, he's dropped down to 1.2 seconds in about 2 laps. Hasn't hit the wall or anything. I just think he's burnt those tyres up.
Yeah, it might have been that he was trying to just run those tires out, but it looks like Daniel Stevens might have had something happen, because he just appeared right in front of the leaders, or right behind the leaders, so he might have had something happen.
I did hear a big bang in the background, but I didn't see anything, so it might have been him.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because his car just reappeared. He was racing with everybody, then his car reappeared, so he may have had some internet dramas. But currently the closest battle on track right now is Darren McKenzie and Steve Williams. Both of those guys are currently racing for the 5th and 6th position, but Steve Williams has been pushing his way up through the field, starting 13th, which is next to last, and he is currently in that 6th position, trying to work his way into the 5th position as he tries to make quick work of Norman Clark here. Oh! Just got a little loose coming off 4, avoiding the Roger there.
Yeah, and he's got just gets past Roger there, father and son team, Roger and Norman, both fighting it out there, but having a look, they're both down 1 lap. But I tell you what, Stephen Williams in the 98, as you said, did not qualify tonight. He's come from the back of the field. He's up into 6th position and made 7. But I guess, you know, once you get to that point, it becomes harder work, doesn't it? Just like Norman Clark and his son Roger, as Norman now is 1 lap down, but Roger now has dropped to 2. Tell you what, this pace is crazy. 82 laps of 185 here, folks. Tell you what, Ryan, you should just be able to have your toast before it cools down the way they're running.
Right, yeah, it's they are absolutely moving, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to see good green flag racing, and that's exactly what we're getting here. But it looks like Dave Douglas is actually pitted, so it'll be interesting to see how many laps he went down. He was only 1 lap down when he went in, but now he's 3. So it looks like it's probably about a 2-lap difference. But you can just see, even with that damaged car, how much faster he is to everybody else. It almost looks like he's driving a completely separate car.
Yeah, he'll absolutely love it with those fresh tyres on. He won't even, but he's got to make sure he doesn't burn them up, because potentially, the way this race is going, he might be out there for another 100 laps if it'll make it. But look at him round up there.
Yeah, I'm telling you, those new tires there. He just absolutely made work of Norman Clark. It just looks like he's standing still, just how much quicker Dave Douglas's car is, even with all that damage. So the damage really isn't affecting the car. It's just a matter of tires.
Yeah, that's it. And looking at his lap times, he's doing a 15.773. But compare that to Jason Martin, our leader. Jason's down to the 16.916 at the moment, as Dave Douglas now blows on by Darren McKenzie. Must be a fantastic feeling having nice tyres and doing that. You must feel invincible.
Oh, Josh Mickelmore and Roger Clark just got into it. Oh, man, and that's going to bring out the yellow. Wow, that was not looking good. Josh Mickelmore he tried to pass Craig Lawless and Roger Clark 3 wide, and it didn't really work out too well. There wasn't a whole lot of damage for both cars, but man, was that was not good.
Yeah, just got it up on the slow-mo here, having a look, and just see there, just the tap there that unsettles Roger. They were very fortunate for both. If we have a look at Clark here and the 444, Clark keeps it off the wall. 444 down the inside. The 2 does not collect the wall. No cars damaged. Some pride, no doubt, but they can live for another day.
Yeah, that was that's a move that you make when you know that's all you have. You know, he was trying to keep it on the outside. You know, he wasn't really anything wrong. It was just a lot of racing. That's all it is, just a racing incident. Luckily, nobody got severely damaged, so that was good. But Josh Mickelmore was just trying to make that little bit up to keep with Jason Martin. And I was about to comment that Josh Mickelmore probably needed to go ahead and take the pit so that way he can get that undercut, because you saw just how much Dave Douglas was able to catch. Imagine how much Josh Mickelmore would have been able to catch if he was able to do that with Jason Martin.
Yeah, well, one thing now, Dave Douglas has come back in. He pitted under green. He dropped a couple of laps, so he's been buried after that. He's still 3 laps down. All the other guys get to pit under yellow, so it did not work for the number 10, unfortunately. It just about did if Roger and Mickelmore hadn't come together. He probably would have got away with that. But having a look at your field at the moment, folks, as they come in to take tyres, we have the number 21, Jason Martin, in first. He will be joined with Thomas Hens behind him. Both cars pitted. The 53 of Edward Foster sits in third. Stephen Williams in the 98 fourth. 08 of Darren McKenzie. He is sitting in, let's get some decent pictures here for you, sorry folks, in fifth. 6 is Josh Mickelmore. 7th will be Matt Clowett. And then the last one on the lead lap is the number 24 of Danny G, just taking service now. 2 cars that are laps down. Lawless, 2 laps down. Priest in the 777, 2 laps down. Norman Clark, he is also 2 laps down. So is Danny Stevens. Dave Douglas down 3 laps, and so is Roger Clark.
Yeah, Daniel Stevens was 3 laps down, but decided not to pit and hopes to get his lap back on a quick caution, because if he does not get a quick caution, that car is they are going to eat him within probably about 15 laps or so. He'll be lapped again, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hold on to it. We've had everybody keep in the race, so nobody has dropped out of the service yet, as we have Jason Martin leading, and he will take the green flag, and he is well off as we see everybody just staying 2 by 2. No Darren McKenzie going 3 wide again. So that makes it good. Edward Foster into Thomas Haynes, huge. No caution just yet, but that's gonna not make that car feel very well. Thomas Haynes, and also that head of Thomas Haynes is gonna be really hot now.
Yeah, for sure, and he's going to, if he can catch up to Edward, we'll see what he can do. But at the moment, Darren McKenzie blew past Stephen Williams. Fortunately, they did not get into each other, and fortunately, Thomas used the wall to straighten it up. Josh Micklemore down there in 6th in the number 2 now. 96 laps of 185 gone. Doesn't sound like it sounds like he's got a lot of time. He doesn't, because these guys are lapping in the 15-second mark.
Yeah, Daniel Stevens does not have a lot of time at all. If he wants to stay 2 laps down, he was hoping that Thomas Haynes did wreck. That way he can come in and get some tires. But Darren McKenzie absolutely throws it. Here's that slide job I was talking about earlier. See if he can make it stick, and he does. So what he'll do is he'll go throw it down the bottom here, and he'll be in front of Edward Foster going down the straightaway, and that's going to put him ahead. And Edward Foster is probably going to try doing the same, but Darren McKenzie's just going to keep pinching down. And that's not going to do well for Darren McKenzie's tires, but he'll at least keep on the second for now.
That's right, and he got that momentum straight onto the back of Jason Martin here. See McKenzie there, he's got internet connection issues, and those 2 wheels was just the server trying to correct where that car was. At the moment, though, the 98 of Williams on the back of the 53. Got the 52 of Hins trying to round these 2 up. But here comes McKenzie at the moment. He's just sitting on the back of Jason. See if he can do anything about it. Last time we saw Micklemore do this, he ended up burning his tyres up. So we'll see what happens there. But good battle here between the 53 and the 98.
Yeah, Steve Williams has made huge grounds. He's currently in 4th. Started in 13th. And these guys, he is just absolutely moving through this field. It is unbelievable to watch him do what he does. Now, once you get to the pointy end of this, that's where the passes get a little bit harder.
Yeah, we're riding with him at the moment, folks. You can just see that gyro cam, how much it's being thrown around in the cabin. That's just the G-forces these guys would be experiencing. As we were saying, 186k an hour they're going through these banked corners, and 15 seconds a lap on the short track.
Yeah, the 15 seconds for a lap time seems extremely short, and it is, especially with the speed you're going. You know, it's a half-mile track. When you actually go there in real life, it looks a lot smaller than it really. Like, if you think half mile, you know, it's a small track, but then you go there, the stadium is probably twice as big as the entire track. Like, the track is super tiny, but it's an incredible sight to see. And if you ever get a chance to come over here, it's one of the tracks you probably need to go to.
Yeah, I think this is one of the big tracks I'd like to see the NASCAR boys run at, that's for sure. And I reckon the drivers must be able to hear the crowd. They'd be so surrounded in that canyon. You'd think they would be able to hear all that crowd cheering.
Most time they do. They actually do speak about that sometimes, as we see this battle for third is starting to heat up with Stephen Williams, Edward Foster, and Thomas Haynes. But it just, you know, with the way how loud these cars are, it's extremely hard to hear anything. As Thomas Haynes does go below Steve Williams, he's going to try to make this pass stick with that damaged car. He's trying to get back to Edward Foster. I don't think he really cares. He made that slide job work perfectly. Good job, Thomas. That's the slide job. Now let's see if that Toyota Camry that Thomas Haynes is using has the steel bumper bar or the aluminum bar they come with off the showroom.
I'll tell you what, from my motor racing experience, I know that if you give someone a tap and they start catching back up to you, you brace yourself to see what they're going to do. And
right.
We'll see what the 52 does. He's going down low with the 53 at the moment. That's Hims on the inside, Edward on the outside. Edward's probably got that, you know, that feeling. You know what it is, Ryan?
Yeah. It's the classic Jaws theme that starts to come up in your head. You know, you're just waiting. You're just waiting and hoping that he understands that it was a mistake, or you want him to believe that it was a mistake.
We saw the 98 there to go up and brush the wall. That's brought Micklemore into this battle. Micklemore sitting back here in 6th. If you wonder where Martin is while this is going, folks, well, he's sitting out there with 0.8 of a second over Darren McKenzie in the 08 in second. Third, though, that's where the battle is between the 53, the 52, the 98's involved in this, so is the number 2.
And what's crazy is when you talk about 0.8 of a lead second, or 0.8 of a lead, in road racing or any other form of racing, that's nothing. Here, it's a half a freaking straightaway. I mean, he's already a half a straightaway ahead of Darren McKenzie, and he's only just under a second ahead of him. So that's one of the craziest things about this track. Yeah, it's a second, but it's a lot. It looks a lot further than a second.
Yeah, it certainly does. It looks like a country mile, doesn't it, when you see him way out there and you're saying, like I'm saying, things like he's doing it comfortably 0.9 of a second up the track.
Right, yeah. Like, normally if you told me I had a second lead over second place, I'm still pushing it. But if you look back in your mirror and you hear a second, you see that, you're calling back to the team asking, no, that's not right. Thomas Haynes is still trying to work that inside for third place on Edward Foster. I think if he doesn't get that pass made, I think he might return the favor a little bit, as we are working lap 119 here of 185 laps. We only have 65 to go, so it's not too far away from getting down to the end of this race here.
Yeah, and for the viewers that are just joining us, we've only had 2 cautions here, and it's a phenomenal speed, this race. I was expecting it to have a few more cautions come out, but at the moment the boys are racing hard and they're racing clean. As we see the 52 continue to try to work that low line on the 53, but the 98, well, he's decided he's making it too easy. He's going to start working on that 52 now.
Yeah, this battle for third has just livened up here as Thomas Haynes has found his way on the bottom, and he looks like he's going to make it just around here, just around Edward Foster here in just a moment. He's just got a few corners to make it happen, and he gave him no room at all as he had to pass Daniel Stevens here, who is a little bit slower, and as he just did that, I'm sure that was a little bit of a return serve. Also, he didn't want to get stuck behind him, but also he wanted to let Daniel Stevens know he wasn't very happy about the earlier contact, but he about made a second contact of himself.
The other thing he was making sure of was that as they came up to that lapped car, he didn't get caught boxed in, because that's another strategy they can use. We actually saw Micklemore do that to Stephen Williams, and he moved up a position. Stephen had to lift because he got trapped down on that low line behind the lapped car.
Yeah, now that Thomas Haynes is actually running by himself, he actually was faster than Jason Martin that last lap. He caught him by almost 1/10 of a second. Now it's going to go back because he's got Roger Clark he's passing. But Thomas Haynes has some speed underneath that car, even though it's still damaged and it's still a little wore out. He's got some speed under it.
So we see them now rounding up Roger Clark. He goes to the high line. We've got the 53 through. Number 2 tucking in. Bit of contact there. It's 53. 9 just clips the wall. He continues on, goes high, hits the wall again, and keeps it moving forward. But I tell you what, as we saw before, folks, the gap has just, one could say, exploded. It's out to 2.1 seconds now, Jason Martin. And this is what Jason does. He just lap after lap, he gets the most out of this car. Once again, Darren McKenzie, he tried to run with him. He's now dropping like a stone. I'd say his tyres are gone. And here comes Thomas Haynes.
Man, these guys are really trying. They're really trying, especially for this 4th position. You see Josh Micklemore here. He is just trying to make it around Edward Foster. He tried to stick his nose on the outside of there, and it almost cost both him and Edward Foster But Steve Williams is the one who's lost out of all of this because he's the last one to get around Edward Foster here. He was right behind Edward Foster, and then everybody else just went ahead around him. So not very good for Steve Williams. I think he got a little hot head here.
Now we can see Hins 52 throws it in on the inside of the 8. He wants to make short work of this. He should be able to do it because Mackenzie's tyres are hurting at the moment as he sticks to that low line, making the 52 work. Is he going to get it? Mackenzie's not going to roll over, of course, but as they go too wide once again.
Yeah, Thomas Haynes really wants to get around Darren McKenzie right now because for the last 5 laps, ever since he passed Edward Foster, he's been faster than Jason Martin. So he wants to get past Darren McKenzie as fast as he possibly can because now he's losing all that ground that he just made up. He was really, really close to Jason Martin. Now they're losing it all running with each other. As you see, Thomas Haynes is just trying to use every bit of the track and then some. They're losing 0.3 seconds now, 0.3 a lap now. And that's not really a good sign for Thomas Haynes.
No, it's definitely not. He wants to get past. He's only got 50 laps to catch Jason Martin. Normally we'd say that's plenty of time, but around here, 15 seconds a lap, it is not enough time the way Martin's going. He's pulled that gap out to 3.6 seconds just in the time it's taken Hins to get past the 08 of Mackenzie. Now we can see the number 2. He's starting to work on the 08. That's Josh Mickelmore. He's going with Hins here, makes the job a lot quicker and a lot easier than what Hins managed.
Yeah, if he can do what he was doing before, if Thomas Hines can run the laps that he was running before he started battling with Darren McKenzie, he has enough time. With only 45 laps, he'll catch him 38, but he will have to have absolutely perfect laps. But now Jason Martin is just running away now. He's running 1/10 of a second faster than Jason Martin. So if this pace continues, there's no chance for Thomas Haynes to catch him.
No, that gap's out to 3.9 seconds. If you're wondering what that is, folks, there's your 52. Up ahead through turn 4 is the 21. He's got a gap of probably, what would you call that, about a third of the track?
Yeah, when you're 3 seconds ahead, you're in the middle of turn 4 when the other guys are just entering turn 3. So you got a huge gap. Steve Williams was on pit road, so Steve Williams is the first to blink for pit road here with only 45 laps to go. So we'll see if the rest of these guys, I'm not sure exactly on fuel mileage, but if they're getting close on fuel mileage, then we'll have to see them pit, because they did pit last about 65 laps ago, and this is when we saw some of the first ones happen earlier, first pit stops.
And we just saw there Hins just brushing the wall, rear quarter, and just using that wall a little bit to pull the car up, I guess. But you know how close they run to the wall. I'm not surprised they're not hitting it more often. Riding here with Josh Mickelmore at the moment in third position. There goes Hins into the wall hard.
Yeah, and when he did that, he actually did gain 0.3 of a second on Jason Martin. So it looks like Jason Martin might be playing with him just a little bit. It looks like he's trying to save tires right now, or save fuel, one of the two, because even with that lap that he just ran, Thomas Haynes, he gained 0.3 of a second. So Jason Martin might be looking to not pit, whereas the other guys are looking to just try to catch him and hope for the best.
Yeah, one of the guys that have come through the field the easiest would be the number 2. He just blew on by Thomas Hins there. He saw Hins into the wall, and I think Mickelmore went, that's enough for me. I'm going to push forward and get away from it. And he's now just threading the needle around the 09. He's got the 777. That gap at the moment, 3.7 seconds. But as you said, Martin can just control that gap now and try to conserve tyres, fuel, and see what he can do.
Okay, so I'm seeing what's happening now. I was not watching Jason Martin. What was happening? He's catching up to lap traffic, so that's why you see this come and go of the lap times and how close they are to each other. So it looks like it's just based off what the other guys are doing around him, all the lap cars.
And it looks like Micklemore's handling the traffic very well. As they went around, he pulled back 1/10 of a second in that lap over Martin. The gap now 3.5 seconds. So the gap has come down by 4/10 of a second. 34 laps remaining though. I don't know. Do you reckon Micklemore can get him if we go green to the end here?
Yeah, I think he might be able to do it, especially if they do green flag pit stops. If they do green flag pit stops, Josh Micklemore has to pit before Jason Martin. That is, you cannot let Jason Martin pit before you. That is the biggest thing. If you can get into the pits before him, and you have to do green flag stops, you have to come in before Jason Martin. You cannot let him go out, because we saw earlier Dave Douglas was able just to run away. So if he can get down into the pits and maybe Jason Martin waits a few laps to come in, he might be able to jump Jason Martin or get right close to him to where he can maybe throw some kind of pass at him. So that'll be, if I'm Josh Micklemore, I'm looking at my fuel and seeing when I have about 10 laps left or about 5 laps or so, just so I can make sure to get in before Jason Martin.
Yeah, the green flag stops have started, folks. We saw Lawless in there. His last stop, 15.3 seconds. We've also had Norman Clark come in, 15.6 seconds for his final stop. Dwayne Crease has done his. Stephen Williams in the 98 has done his final stop. So we've had about 5 come through. 28 laps remaining here, folks, going through your top 5. Jason Martin is leading. That gap 3.8 seconds over Josh Micklemore in second. Then the gap is 1.2 seconds back to Hinds, and he's trying to close in. Then we've got fourth is Mackenzie, and rounding out your top 5 is number 53 of Edward Foster.
Yeah, so right now we're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for the leaders and see what they do, because from the looks of it, they're not going to be able to make enough fuel. They did pit last on, let's see exactly what lap that was. They had the caution. They're at lap 89, so they last pitted on lap 91. So they'll have to go almost 90 laps on fuel, and I just don't see the cars being able to do that.
The other little bit of statistics here, folks, I like my numbers. The number 21 has led every single lap of this race tonight. We're 161 laps in. This car's led 161 laps. It's amazing for short track, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, you do get these dominant performances. Roger Clark and Jason Martin. He had a little bit of a heart attack there. Roger Clark just got into the wall just beside him as he was trying to pass. But we had this last 2 years ago, I believe, at the night race. It was either last year or 2 years ago. We had Eric Jones. It would have been last year because he was a rookie. He led just about every lap of that race, but it came down to the end of it. He just didn't go. It didn't all go to plan for him there at the end as Kyle Busch ran around him. So we're seeing something here, with Jason Martin. He's not able to run the same line he was. Josh Micklemore has caught up almost a second and a half, and Jason Martin is not really liking that high line very well. He's already hit the wall twice in a row.
Yeah, we're riding here with Micklemore at the moment. That gap, folks, 2.5 seconds. You can see Micklemore now. He's using that high line and going very high up there, just keeping the car going. And his lap times 16.266, so they've dropped a good 1 second a lap through tyre wear. 19 laps remaining here. The question is, can either of these get to the end? And if they can't, who's going to pit first and try to get that undercut? as you said, Ryan, Josh should try something because following is not going to work.
No, he's not close enough to do any kind of following technique, and he's not fast enough to keep it up either. Because right now they're running identical lap times right now. If I'm him and I know I can't make it on fuel, I'm pitting now. But the way it looks, there's only 15 laps remaining in this thing. I don't know. Maybe you can't go all the way. Maybe you can't go 90 laps on fuel.
Well, it could explain why the times are coming down, because maybe Josh here is just trying to conserve fuel to get it to the end. 15 laps doesn't sound very far, does it? What, 7 mile? But I guess if you're on vapors, 7 mile or 500 metres means the same when you run out.
Yeah, and I think what may have happened right here is Josh Mickelmore may have saved enough fuel and he's just going at it now. Jason Martin may be doing his fuel saving now. Maybe he's just now realizing that he's not going to be able to make it because he's in the wall now. Yeah, I think he's trying to fuel save, and he's got his mind on that, and that's causing him to make mistakes. And Josh Mickelmore is absolutely pulling a lot of points every single lap. He's right now 1.7 seconds behind Jason Martin. He was over 4 seconds just not 20 laps ago. 1.4, that's 3/10 of a lap. And there's only 10 laps. There's only 12 laps remaining in this race.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to get stuck behind Danny G now.
Yeah, but he's halved that gap, hasn't he? He's down to 1.3 seconds now as he's now got his head down. I think you're right here. I think Martin's realised he's in trouble as far as fuel goes here, and he's just trying to conserve. He's got 11 laps to hang on here. But here comes Mickelmore in the number 2, and that gap, 1.29 seconds and closing.
Yeah, he gained a whole tenth that lap. It looks like Josh Mickelmore may have already saved all his fuel, and he's absolutely going at it. And while you're saving fuel, you're saving tires also. And he's at 1.1. Jason Martin's in the wall. There's only 9 laps remaining in this, 8 laps remaining. 7 laps when we get around this corner. These laps go too fast.
Certainly do, and I tell you what, 9 laps remaining. Martin has led every single lap of this race of 177 laps. It's going to mean nothing whatsoever if Mickelmore closes in. It's down to 1 second is the gap, 8 laps remaining. Can the two catch a 21? And what's the 21 got left?
Not a whole lot, because it looks like Josh Mickelmore has a lot more in that car than Jason Martin. The one thing Josh Mickelmore does not want to see right now is a yellow flag. If he sees a yellow, it is all over for him. There's 0.8 of a second. Jason Martin is still in that wall. It looks like he actually might be using that wall to get him around this corner a little bit quicker. But Josh Mickelmore is absolutely moving right now. There is only 5 laps remaining, and he is 0.7 seconds behind now. He's gained 0.7 of a second in 5 laps. There are 5 laps remaining. He's 0.7 behind. This is going to end up being a ridiculously close finish if Josh Mickelmore can keep on this pace. And there's a lap more Jason Martin's got to deal with now with Edward Foster. Let's see where Edward just moves out of the way because he knows that this is really important. There's 0.5 in between them now.
We're riding in the gearbox cam here of Martin. You can just see the number 2 closing, and the scowl on the front of that Chevrolet says it all. And tell you what, Mickelmore's coming, 2 laps remaining. It's anyone's race here. It's going to be a mighty close finish, Ryan.
Yeah, 2 laps to go right now as they cross the line. Josh Mickelmore is now 0.2 of a second. We can go ahead and throw the timesheets out. There's only 2 laps remaining. And Josh Mickelmore is so close, it is almost unbearable, considering where he came from to where he is now. Josh Mickelmore has made one of the biggest gains I've ever seen. This is the last lap, this is the final lap. Will Josh Mickelmore try something here? As they go down in the 3 and 4 last corner, he dives low. He's going to get off the corner. Oh no, just so close. And that's going to be it for Jason Martin. Jason Martin was able to make it towards the end. So close for Josh Mickelmore. I think I think he's going to be too mad about this one because he just was not able to make it work. I think he's going to be mad that he ran out of laps.
Yeah, that's it. Another lap, maybe 2 laps, he would have been in a very good position there. But I tell you what, you've got to take your hat off to Josh Mickelmore. He came from so far back and took it to Martin. Martin just got to the line by that car length, so congratulations to both drivers. The other thing we should mention here, folks, is the statistics for our winner tonight. Dominant just scraped across the line, but he led every single lap of this race tonight at Bristol, which is an achievement in itself, that's for sure. The other achievement for the field, not one retirement tonight. Every car that started got home, so that's another big achievement. Wow.
Well, it looks like Jason Martin was not lacking any tire or any gas, as he just did a huge burnout. He's still doing it. So it may have just been full-on tires.
Yeah, looks that way. We've got the some good camera shots there of our winner celebrating and doing what is tradition here in NASCAR. And the car's looking pretty clean considering what they've been through.
Yeah, 180 laps around Bristol in your car looking as clean as that one is. That's an achievement in and of itself. And then to come away and you've led every single lap here makes it even just that little much better.
Yeah, Miley's celebrating. Do you reckon we should bring him up and you can have a chat with him? See if you can donut and talk at the same time.
We'll see if we can get anything out of him, that's for sure.
Right, I'll bring him up now. Here he is.
Jason Martin, what a win there. It was a fight for the finish, it looked like, for those last couple of laps. You got a copy there, Jason?
He's absolutely speechless, I think. We might... Here he goes.
Yeah, mate, I can hear you. Sorry about that.
Oh, right on. Yeah, it looked like you had a battle there for the race win there at the end. What was going on with the car? It seemed to slow down pretty bad.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of damage, so I just couldn't. It was just way too tight, so I thought he was going to get me then.
Yeah, saw you. We thought you were trying to fuel save because it was a 90-lap run toward the end, but. We were thinking fuel save because you looked like you started to make a couple of mistakes here and there. We're thinking mentally you were trying to focus on fuel, but I guess it just once you hit the wall once, it just was a reoccurring theme then, huh?
No, fuel was okay for me, but I just started to lose a bit of concentration and got a bunch of damage, and it just made it not turn.
Yeah, man, that was still a wild race. You dominated the race for sure. You led every single lap. Nobody led a lap other than you. So good on you. And you have anybody you want to thank?
I just got to thank Josh for not dumping me on that last lap and double RTV for the broadcast.
Right off, man. So we'll see you next week.
Thanks, mate.
So, folks, that was our race winner tonight, Jason Martin in the number 21. We've got Josh Mickelmore down. No, we don't. He's not up here yet. While we're waiting to see if we can get Josh to come up, we'll bring Thomas Hines in and have a chat with him. I'm just going to let you do all the interviewing, Ryan.
Right on.
Who did they?
Hey, Thomas. Here's our third place finisher, Thomas Hines. He got dumped earlier in the race by Edward Foster, but managed to bring it back. So, how was it? How was the race?
Yeah, good. It was definitely an interesting moment. I didn't actually know how that looked externally, but it looked like it had a nice old dent in the right rear corner there. But obviously, thankfully, because it just hit the fender, didn't hit the wheel. There was no steering damage, thankfully. So thank goodness I didn't lose out in that. In the end, it didn't really affect anything apart from obviously losing the track position. But made it a bit interesting having to come through again, so that was good fun. But Good fun race. Obviously, a few bit less than the numbers this week with 14, but I think as we're actually just discussing me and Edward just then as we were waiting for interview, if there's a track to have a bit less in the attendance, it's probably Bristol, because I think when you have a lot of cars, it can be a little bit much. So I think 14 was actually quite a good number there. There was still plenty of traffic and battles and everything, but it wasn't too chaotic. So yeah, it was good fun. Good fun to battle everyone. Surprised to get the queue I did to start second, which wasn't as good because I'm a single screen user, and whenever you start second on a rolling start single screen, it's a real pain trying to judge when the leader goes, because you can't really see him without looking left, and it's a bit awkward basically. But worked out okay. Kept plugging away early on. Obviously got through the cautions, and then the little moment with Edward, but all G in the end. They were both, no problem there. It was just hard racing in the end. Made it interesting having to pass Williams, Mackenzie, and Edward again. So made a very interesting finish for me. But a lot of fun. A lot of fun battles, and really close racing. Obviously Bristol, when you get the right people, it's awesome racing, and we saw that here tonight with a lot of awesome battles and a great finish there in the lead. I was trying to hold on to Mickamore. I noticed in the first sort of long run I was sort of catching him towards the end of the stint, but I think maybe having to pass people after I had the contact with Edward probably dermatised a little more than I wanted. I just couldn't quite catch Mickamore and Jason. They just were keeping me at base. So but happy to get another third, another podium. Can't complain. So more championship points, and keep rolling next week.
One thing I found interesting watching the race, that bottom line actually started to come in. Is that something that happens just really on new tires, or is that like a viable passing zone is actually running that bottom line? Because every time I've ran here, it's always been top line.
I haven't actually driven Bristol that much, to be honest, so I was just sort of learning as I went. But it seemed to work all right, as you said. I think with the with the cars going around for a pretty lengthy race, and the group was able to build up quite nicely, and we were all going sort of high, then middle, and sort of low on the exit. Generally, it was what a lot of people was doing. It was what I was doing anyway. It's sort of the line I tend to use at a lot of tracks. Just maybe it's the circuit racer background. I'm not sure. It's just a line I usually use. Nice gashes there, but it was interesting. It was interesting for me because I was noticing when I was battling, I was even able to almost use the apron, just getting down onto the apron a little bit, just to sort of almost pull the car around, so I didn't push up into the car up top as much. So I don't know if it might be a viable option, I guess, with the track rubbering up as much as it did tonight. But it certainly made it interesting. Trying to make it work, because the top line definitely was faster, I think. But it made it interesting trying to hang on to it and fang it on the inside, and not push up into them on the exits, which it's close a few times, but and just not have any major wrecks, which is good. But it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, obviously on Saturday with the Gen 6s, and see if if that's a similar style or if it's maybe a bit different in them. Yeah,
man. So it was a pretty good race for you. Pretty good overall. You finished third, started second, so good on you. You have anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, for sure. I'll obviously thank the usual Rat Corp, Cash Centric, and Sim Racing Collectibles for their sponsorship of the team. Really appreciate it as always. And obviously just the team for being awesome and always being really supportive of the racing I do for them and everything. And obviously big thanks to ANZCAR for just running an awesome league, and big thanks to you guys as always every week for doing the broadcasts and really presenting the league in the light that it deserves to be shown in. So thank you again for you guys, and I'll see you next week.
Right on.
Fantastic. Well, that was Thomas Hins, our third place getter. Our final interview tonight. Unfortunately, I think Josh Mickelmore was going so fast, he's just driven into the sunset, so to speak, and disappeared over the horizon. But we do have Edward Foster in the number 53. We'll bring him in because he was having a good race tonight as well, Ryan.
Yeah, he really did. We'll talk to him. Hey, Edward. It looks like you ended up with the top 5, even though you're a lap down. You had a little bit of an incident with Thomas Hines, so tell us how the race went.
It was all right. I kind of expected a little bit better result. To be honest, I thought I may have been able to finish top 3 in the end, but I didn't really have. I sort of had the pace on new tyres. New tyres was very good, but I just couldn't make them last the way that obviously Jason and Josh and Thomas managed to. And yeah, Darren McKenzie, I think, surprised me as well, pushing as hard as he was early on, managed to eke out enough speed even out of his tyres to keep me back there. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that anybody who finished ahead of me didn't deserve it.
Right on, yeah. So what did happen between you and Thomas? Did you just get in there too hot, or did he mess with you earlier?
Oh, no. It's just the way that Thomas and I race. We always, give each other millimetres rather than inches. We just enjoy racing each other like that. And it's always the case when we get on track together in close proximity. We're going to bang panels and we're going to enjoy ourselves. So I knew he was pretty good, going to be pretty good on the long run. So I was pretty keen on keeping him behind. So kind of dived in there, and when he started to hang tough around the outside, I just tried to squeeze him up against the wall a little bit just to give him a bit less room to move. And in the end, he's taken more than I allowed him and ended up bouncing off me and just rubbing up against the wall. But yeah, no problems. I mean, that's just the way we race each other, and yeah, all cool.
Yeah, man. So it looked like a pretty interesting race, and it looked like you could pass just about wherever you wanted. Is that something that you found pretty viable, or was it just strictly top line for you?
For me personally, I was pretty much stuck to that top line. I did try the bottom line on a couple of occasions, couldn't really make it work. On new tyres it was okay, but it wasn't so good, especially for me after the tyres started to get old. I was pretty much welded to that top line, and there were certainly a few guys, Darren McKenzie, Steve Williams, and guys that I was running pretty close with for a while who were able to run into the corners a lot harder than I was able to, and they probably had a bit better luck on that bottom line than I was able to have. But yeah, for me, it was definitely a one-groove racetrack once the tyres got old.
Right on. So do you have anybody you want to thank here?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the APCS, which is the big sponsor of this ANZCAR series, and also carry that logo on the bonnet of my car. So always a big thanks to them, and great to have them on board with both ANZCAR and Riley Curtis Designs Motorsports. You guys, RRTV, for giving us the opportunity to show that logo with the cars and everything else to the wider world. And just everybody who showed up tonight. It wasn't a massive field, but for the guys who decided to show up and tough it out around Bristol, I think they were rewarded with a pretty enjoyable race. So I hope it looked that way from YouTube land and broadcast land, I suppose.
Yeah, we had a pretty close finish over here on our end, so it was definitely a very, very good showing, even though there was a shortage of cars from what we're from the normal. But it was a great race to watch overall, even though there's only 14 cars. So I think Bernie, I think we're all finished up here. It was a fast and furious race for sure.
It certainly was. It was an awesome race, and I tell you what, Jason Martin leading every single lap of this race tonight, which is an amazing effort. Every single car getting through to the end as well, folks. So that's also an amazing effort. But we'll take you through the final results here tonight, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver finished. So Jason Martin, as we said, led 185 laps and got to the end in the number 21. Josh Micklemore, he hunted him down and just did not make it with half a lap to go, so he settles for second. Thomas Hinds in the 52 third. Darren McKenzie, he holds on for the 08 in fourth position. Edward Foster brings the 53 home in fifth. Sixth is Danny G in the number 24, with Matt Clowett in seventh in the number 54. Stephen Williams in the 98, he's was up 5 positions from where he started and finishes in eighth. The biggest mover, though, looks like it's Danny G. He was up 6 positions to get in 6th. Moving back through the field, Norman Clark in the 11th finishes in 9th. 10th was Dwayne Priest in the 777. 11th is Dave Douglas in the number 10. Coming home in 12th tonight was Craig Lawless. And then 13th, Roger Clark. Daniel Stevens, he finishes in 14th position. So, as you said, Ryan, it was the fast and the furious. And I tell you what, though, Jason didn't have it all his own way, because the fastest lap actually goes to Josh Micklemore. He beat him out by 2/100ths of a second to set a time of 15.075.
Yeah, I think Jason Martin was under have 185 laps led and the win versus the fastest lap. So, that is interesting to see that Jason Martin did not have the fastest lap. I honestly don't think he was the fastest driver on track. He just happened to be out front and out of the most amount of carnage. So, it's good on him. He ended up finishing really well, but I do think there was maybe Josh Mickelmore had something better for him, and then Dwayne Preece he practiced on top of the 14.8. But he started in the back and was never able to get through this field. So that just shows you just how important it is to be out front, especially at a place like Bristol.
Yeah, that's right. And we saw a few guys try to run with Jason earlier tonight. Darren McKenzie was one. His tyres did not last. And I've forgotten who that second driver was that tried earlier in tonight to go with him. His tyres also did not last.
Yeah, it was Thomas Heens in that first, and then Josh Mickelmore happened to catch back up, and he was actually catching them. And then that first caution came out. That was crazy though. We only had 2 cautions, so that's the best part about it. We only had 2 cautions, so really helped out with the racing, and these guys were able to actually get some green flag laps in and make a really good race out of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, we're pretty much finished up here tonight at Bristol, folks. But next week, Ryan, we're off to Richmond. So what do you reckon Richmond's going to have in store for the boys?
Richmond it's a short track that is fast, just like this. It's a little bit smaller than a mile. A lot of NASCAR drivers say it's the best. It's like the perfect NASCAR track. It's not too small like Martinsville, so it's all, condensed or whatever, but it's not too big like a Charlotte or Atlanta or something like that. It's just like a perfect 7/8 of a mile track. The layout's really good. You can pass anywhere, turn 1. You can really throw it down into turn 1 and hope to make it stick. And then turn 3 and 4, that's really just a setup corner for the pass at turn 1. So a lot of NASCAR drivers, that's their favorite track, and it has been for a long time. So we'll see what happens. See if this new build that they put together for iRacing, see if that allows for more multi-groove racing, because even in the real world, they run all the way up to the wall. So it'll be interesting to see next week. Unfortunately, I'll be missing it, but oh well.
Yeah, we'll have hopefully Steve Hoppett back in the booth with me next week, folks, to call all that action. But tomorrow night, if you like your Australian Online Supercar Championship, the V8 Supercars, they will be going to Snetterton tomorrow night for the Snetterton 200. It's a 40/80 super sprint, and we'll have Nick Hausler and Daniel Leet calling all the action for you there. That'll kick off at 9:15 p.m. tomorrow night, GMT plus 10. And then, of course, on Saturday, we come back to Bristol for the iRacing Monster Energy Cup cars. They're going to take to Bristol for a full-length race, 500 laps, 266 miles. The quality broadcast will kick off at 2:10 p.m. GMT plus 10. Quali at 2:20 p.m. GMT plus 10, and that will run us through till 3 p.m. GMT plus 10 when the race will actually start. And the way we're doing it in that series, folks, is a bit more like you'd probably see in the real world. Each car's going to be called out to set their laps, and it'll be a bit like a top 10, but it'll be the whole field, and it gives us all an opportunity to see the cars, the sponsors and the drivers before they take to the track at 3 o'clock. So anyway, Ryan, thanks for calling all the action with me tonight, mate. I guess you can go and make some more toast or whatever you're having over there, and I can start having an early night, I think.
Yeah, I'll be a glass of milk and then the bed.
Yeah, that's about right. But Yeah, so anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in tonight, wherever you are in the world. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the ANZCAR Thunder Series coming to you from Bristol, and hopefully we'll have your company tomorrow night. But if we don't, have a great weekend. It's very close now, and we'll catch up very soon, no doubt. But on behalf of Ryan Shelton, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for tuning in to RRTV, and we'll catch up with you again shortly. Good night.